All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to pick up now. We're going to start with some of the color. So what we're going to be doing here with our digital painting is we're basically going to be making this either the green Hulk or the red Hulk. So I'm going to do a little bit as far as picking the colors. Now, you don't have to use these colors, but I've set us up with the colors that we used for the tomato, and I set us up with the colors that we used for the green apple. So either one of those, you can pick any of those. If you really want, you can use a different set of colors. I mean, you could try to do it naturalistic colors, but I think I want to kind of keep it to the stuff that we've been practicing and then what we've been working on throughout this last couple of projects. So I don't want to create a new wrinkle of different colors and everything else like that. You're free to try different ones, but either you'll be basically making this a red Hulk kind of person or a green Hulk kind of person. And again, colors can be changed later on. It's really about the process of layering them like we've done before. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is, since we do have a lot of layers already, I want to kind of just kind of organize things a little bit better. So now that we're going to have a lot of layers and we're going to add even more layers, I want to show you how to create a group or a folder. So in this case, I have my my pen work that was basically the outlines that I created, the pupil, the eye, and everything else like that. We're going to need those. So what I want to do is I'm going to click on them, and you can see that the shape layers I've labeled, and you can see they have that little logo in them that tells you it's a shape layer. I'm going to hit Shift, and I'm going to select all of those. And again, it's good to keep yourself organized. So now that I have all of those layers selected, and for the shape ones, you can actually see them highlighted in blue here. Now I'm going to go ahead down at the bottom, and I have that trash bin. I have my little create a new layer bin. Next to it's what looks like almost like a manila folder. It's called New Folder. And if I click on that, you'll see right away it pops up Folder 1. And there's a little folder icon, and next to it there is a drop-down arrow. If I click that, you'll see all of a sudden there's all my work. Now, why do this? Because if I put a couple folders together over here, it kind of condenses everything, keeps everything kind of organized. So I'm going to be calling this folder my pen outlines. So I know where they are. They're out of the way. I can move them all together top and down as it is. And then, for my other layers, which are my painted layers, I want to kind of keep them all together. And, I can break them up into a skin folder or a just an eye folder. I could put all of it together as far as my paint layers go. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my eyeball in one folder, and I'm going to keep my skin in another one. So I'm going to click on and hit Shift and get my white of the eye, iris of the eye, my pupil, and my highlight. I'm going to get those all together. I'm going to click on my little folder icon down here, and I'm going to rename this eye. And I can see right away if I click that eyeball, I can make them all disappear and reappear at the same time. So my outlines as well. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my skin layer. I got the skin black. I got the skin white. Hold on Shift, select both of them, click my folder icon, and then just create a skin layer. So that my original layer down here is just my photograph, and then obviously my background. So as I'm working, just skin. As I'm working now, I think what I want to do is I want to start with my eyeball. So I'm going to get rid of these and get rid of these right now, just so I'm working just in this area. And what I want to do is, for the most part, I think that my, white of the eye might just stay in this color scheme. I could mess around with that a little bit, but I'm going to start basically coloring in my iris. So if I go to my pen outlines real quick, I can go to my iris, and that way I can always just select that by, while I'm in the iris, clicking on it with my magic wand and selecting that area. All right, and then I can minimize all that and then switch over now to what's going to be my eyeball layer. And I think I'm going to go to iris of the eye, and what I want to do is I'll click on iris of the eye here, and I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm just going to call this layer color iris. And as always, these layers that I create, I'm going to change them from normal to multiply. All right, so any of the color layers right now will go to normal to multiply. So either way you do this, whether you decide you want to go greens or whether you decide you want to go reds, you're going to start basically with yellow. So I'm going to grab my color picker. I'm going to click on the yellow that I have over here. Again, you could pick your own colors, but you would start with your lightest one. I've got my yellow set up. I'm going to grab my paintbrush, and I think what I'm going to do is make sure my paintbrush is down to about less than 20%, low hardness. I go 0. And then I'm going to make sure that my opacity and my flow are down. And again, opacity under 30, flow probably under 20. And you can change those things. You don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. But I particularly like to have a little bit more control over how it's coming out. And if you do it lightly at first, that gives you a lot of options later on as far as how you want to make it work. So I can start adding some yellow to this eyeball. And again, since it's my lightest color, I'm going to kind of work my way from the light parts of the eye. And if it's coming out a little slow for you, that's when you can up your opacity and up your flow. Again, play with those numbers. No one should be working on those at like 100%, and no one should be working at them at like 5%. But it gives you a lot more control over what you're doing if you have it at a lower number. It makes the paint come out smoother, and it takes a little bit more time for it. You can go over things more often, and really what it's going to end up doing is giving you a really good blended look. So again, I'm going to start adding some yellow. I'm going to add yellow to basically most of this part of the eye. All right, and then what I want to do is I'm going to color iris. And I'm going to switch, I'll stay on this layer. Then I'm going to go switch over to the next color that I got, which is going to be my lime peel. And hit OK. And I'll start adding a little bit more green. I'm not going to cover up all the yellow. I'm going to add a little bit more sort of color to this and giving it a little bit of a green tinge. All right. And I'm going to switch over to my next one, the apple green, and hit OK. I'm going to up my opacity and my flow just a little bit so I get a little bit more color. And this I'm going to just basically use over top of my darker areas. And this little bit that's hanging over, don't worry about that. You know how to erase that. Again, we can use later on, we can use the magic wand and the outline for the eyeball to get after that. So I'm going to go ahead and sort of add a little bit more of that green out there. And then I'm going to go switch to my next color. Okay. I'm just going to add this for the edges out here. This is sort of my dark green. And if I feel like I want to add just a little bit more darkness to this, well, that way I can start using even some of that red. So what I'll do is, again, I'll click on my color, choose the red, and when I overlap the dark red over the dark green, you may not notice it here, but it is adding just a little bit more of an edge to that. And I've pretty much painted my eye. And if I want to go back and add a little bit more brightness to it, I can always go back and grab a little more yellow. Again, just like we did with colored pencils, we can always sort of add more layers. This time I'm going to add just a little bit more so my eye really stands out. And this is a time for you to kind of play around now that you know how to use the functions and really just have a little bit more fun with it. I'm going to really brighten up that part of the eye. And I feel like there's some parts in here that I like to make them stand out a little bit more. Let me see. I'm going to switch over, and I'm going to switch to my white. And I'm going to get a smaller brush. Adjust the hardness. Just a little bit over here. And keep my opacity and flow sort of light. And I'm going to kind of add some, a little bit of some other hints of brightness, especially around this lower part over here. And again, I hope at this juncture with the two paintings that we did that now you don't have to necessarily follow me exactly. Each one of your pictures is going to be a little bit different, but I hope that you know how to use the tools well enough that you can make your own little adjustments to your pictures as you work. So there's my little start to my eye. I'm going to zoom out, and what I want to do, I feel pretty good about it. I'm going to hit Control D and deselect it. So right now I've got that color part of the eye. I have this extra stuff over here. While I want to get rid of them. I'm going to go to my pen outlines. I'm going to go to the pupil. All right, nope, the eye. I'm going to go ahead and select my magic wand and click on the outside of that eye. And then I'm going to go back to my color iris and just hit backspace. Control D to deselect. So I already got some color from my hulked out eye. You can add more color to it. You can make it brighter, however you want to work. I think since I just played around with the color of the eye, I think I want to kind of make the rest of this eye a little yellowish, give it a little yellow tinge. So I'm going to go back to my eye layer, grab my magic wand, click on it, all right, and then go switch over to the white of the eye layer and create a new layer. And I'm going to call that color of eye. All right. I'm sorry, I think I did this backwards over here. I need to go back to the eye. I think I just told you to click on the outside. That was my bad. Click on the inside of the shape. There we go. And now go to your color of the eye. And I'll start again with my yellow. And this time I'm basically going to mostly just use yellow and maybe the lime peel. I'm not going to make this too dark around over there. I'm going to grab my brush, make it a little bit larger, cover a little bit more area. I'm going to lower my opacity a little bit more. There you go. I don't want to cover up too much of that good shading that I did underneath there. And now I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow tinge to this. And I'm going to switch up and I'm going to add just a little bit of that lime peel, which is the next color in there. And I'm not going to make anything I do out here too dark. And you can see I've colored my eye, I've colored my iris, pupil stays black, my highlights are on the top layer over here so they don't get messed up with. They stay nice, bright, and white. I can hit Control D, and here is my Hulk eye. I'm already starting it up over here and ready to go. I'm going to zoom out. And that'll be this lesson for today. You could basically use the same principles for the skin. I'll do a separate video for the skin and post that, but this is where we're at. Again, what we want to think about is keeping things organized by creating folders. That way you can kind of very easily get rid of big areas and just keep everything a little bit more organized. And then you can go back over there. As I see everything together, you know what I'm realizing? I want to get a little darker over here, so I'm going to go back to my color of the eye layer, and I'm going to just get rid of this. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to, I'll give my just darker green, and I'll just bring it down very low. And what I'm going to do is just select everything and just do that really quickly. One little thing I missed over here. Color the eye. Change it from normal to multiply. There we go. And then we have our colors. Yeah, I think I like that a little bit better. So again, as usual with the color layers, just make sure you switch them to multiply. Mr. B is a little sleepy. He stays up all night with a little tiny baby, so he gets confused easily. So bear with me, but there it is. There's the eye. On your color layers, make sure that they're switched to multiply. On your regular layers, they're normal. All right. Create your little folders. Keep everything nice and organized. And again, you can use the same techniques to work on the skin. What I would do though is I'm going to set up a separate video for the skin to do for you guys tomorrow. Hope that was helpful. Sorry about a little confusion at the end. Good luck.